I think I remember
Rico said,
David Banner saying one time that out west and down south they just listen to music in their cars, and it's different than on the East Coast where they listening through headphones because people ain't driving. So when people producing music from the South or the West Coast, they producing music to bump in the cars,
right.
and Dre has everything to do with that.
But hold on. But where is his inspiration coming from? That would be Public Enemy and the
Yeah,
Hit Squad,
yeah,
Mike, which is our first real anthem music.
no, definitely. I
Our first
think.
real anthem music is the Hit Squad and Public Enemy. That's where Dre pulled from.
Mm-hmm.
He just applied that West Coast aesthetic where we listen to that shit in the car.
And
Right.
honestly, I think that he got that aesthetic from them on a hip hop level. But when you talk about the bass lines from like
Let's boogie down production.
Ohio musicians and or just Parliament Funkadelic and Boosie and stuff like that, he was able to kind of fuse those things. And I would imagine, and I think I've heard him say this in interviews before too, like he would listen to like some of those late old school shows where on the radio and they would play some of these records.
I think that started happening around the DOC's album. When you listen to Straight Outta Compton production wise, you can hear the Boogie Down Productions Public Enemy influence.
Right.
Production wise. When you hear No One Can Do It Better and Niggas for Life, you can hear that he's getting inspired by other things. By the time the Chronic is coming out, you can tell that all the old school shit is just taking hold and he's mastered it and been practicing. You can
Yeah.
tell that he's been practicing Mike on the Chronic. Like, because the Chronic sounds so much better than Niggas for Life production wise. I want people to understand it's like a year and some change
It's
later.
crazy.
Niggas for Life is wonderfully produced and it sounds like even next level to that. So he was in there every fucking day.
Well, I've heard Q-Tip say this, and him and Dre are really close, and they got this picture that they posted like a while back on Instagram where I think Dre is holding up Straight Outta Compton or something, and Q-Tips is holding up the Low End Theory vinyl, and they got
No, it might be
it
Niggas
takes
for Life,
an
but that's the same year.
yeah, nah, but I think he was holding up Straight Outta Compton, but yeah. Anyway, they're showing like it takes a nation of millions vinyl in the back. You know what I'm saying? So both of them pulled from that, and they were
Mm-hmm.
kind of going back and forth, right? Where it was like they make Straight Outta Compton, boom. They make People's
They go
Instinctive,
Instinctive Travels.
yeah. And it's like I think with the Low End Theory, they polished up the quality, and I think that the response from the Low End Theory was the Chronic.
Mike, that's great contextualization. It's something I never thought about
Yeah,
because timeline wise, it
yeah,
adds up. Straight out of Compton, People Instinctive Travel, Niggas for Life, I'm sorry, Low End Theory, then Niggas for Life.
yeah.
You can see the response to it, and a lot
Midnight
of people,
Marauders, you know what I mean? After the Chronic,
Marauders and
yeah,
Doggy Style,
yeah.
right?
They were being
Yep,
made at the same time. I think Midnight Marauders might have been more of a response to the Chronic.
maybe. No,
Yeah,
no, no. I can see Q-Tip production wise for where he was and what he knew. Because here's the thing: he's somebody like Dre, like he's an old head, so he's playing the old shit. That's what the Low End Theory is. The Low End Theory, Q-Tip is the first hip hop guy that took the old shit that the people from his era listened to, and he made it into some rap shit. That's why it's so
yeah.
important. He took the jazz and the blues and the soul influence from a previous era. He bought it. He made it current. He made it dope and made it current.
It was a few
So
people who did it, but he did it to the best, I think.
no, Mike,
You
those
know,
people was playing. He
yeah,
was immersed in it, and you can
yeah,
hear the difference in the immersion. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, oh no, when you hear Dr. Dre on the Chronic, it's like, and if you know niggas for life, it's like, no, that nigga was making beats every day. You can't tell me no different. You can hear the immersion from the difference in the quality and the level that these people hit when they become immersed in it to a depth. You know what I'm saying? Because they're
now,
still young when this going on.
now listen, I would love to see Q-Tip and Dr. Dre do something just, on some fun shit. But, when Dr. Dre gets serious, man, like it's really tough to see him in the verses. He could
Q-Tip
dig.
production wise is one of the few producers that has enough tracks to pull from that are
Mm-hmm.
relevant and
Yep.
classic enough to make this viable.
Yeah.
Because he's got, because just his Tribe catalog, you can get about 12 to 15 records off of that. That's classic, easy,
Yeah.
easy.
And he's been around, and even with the work that he's done with Kanye, and Watch the Throne and stuff like that, he could really pull off something.
Well, Mike, he gets to play that classic East Coast shit too, because Mike, he can put on One Love and give up the goods.
And he could
That's gonna
play
be hard for Dre to.
Janet Jackson "Got Till It's Gone" type stuff.
That's gonna
So
be hard
honestly,
too.
if there is somebody out there for Dre, it more than likely would be Q-Tip. And he could go out there and do. I don't know how people feel about Vibrant thing like that, but he could just do shit like that if he wanted to.
Hey, Mike, beat wise, he should do Breathe and Stop if we're talking live. Just beat wise. Vibrant Thing's a better song. Breathe and Stop probably be better live. But you want to know what, Mike? I think one of the worst things, and it's kind of funny about to say this, you know what happened to Q-Tip as a producer and how we remember him, Mike? You want to know what happened? Jay Dilla happened.
Jay Dilla happened, and I also think that back then, he didn't take enough credit. Those tracks were saying produced by a Tribe Called Quest. He didn't go out there and put his name on things like he probably should have.
Maybe. I mean, we know what we know now. We know what we know now, Mike, but really when it comes down to it, it was the Dilla thing, because here's the reality of the matter. Dilla did what Q-Tip was doing, and he did it better because he obviously was listening to Q-Tip.
But at the same time, though, and I think that's admirable of Q-Tip, too, to have somebody that you're mentoring that's that talented and you let them flourish. A lot of bigger producers will hold you under and use your shit. Like people accuse Dr. Dre doing with Daz or something. You know what I mean?
I was thinking Devontae with Timberland in the Basement Crew.
Okay, something like that.
Yep.
So, I think that's admirable, the fact that, he was able to actually really show the love that, Dilla needed so he could go out there and do what he did.
Well, Mike, he heard it.
Yeah,
you can't deny what you hear.
Nah, but he could have taken credit for it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
just never struck you as that type of guy. That was what was so beautiful about it. You know what I'm saying? He was never that dude. You know what I'm saying?
LP says what I said, and you know what? Unfortunately, man, LP said exactly, Mike. We didn't know until years later. We thought it was Ali. I gave Ali credit for making all that Tribe stuff growing up, and I had no idea that Q-Tip was doing all that stuff. And, and I probably would have looked at Q-Tip a lot differently if I would have known that he was the producer of People's Instinctive, The Low End Theory, and Midnight Marauders. I had no idea.
Well, Mike, actually, you want to know what? When he did One Love, that's when I kind of got put on to it. Like, the track-wise. Like, if you listen to the track, it sounded kind of like the way that the beat... Mike, when they're talking about how he helped Havoc with the drums on the Infamous, in terms of putting the Infamous together, he came back and repatterned some things, and he did give up the goods. When you're listening to how Q-Tip shit is hitting the speakers in terms of when it reverbs, Mike, and you're right about this, it's that headphone reverb where it comes through at that peak point of the headphones for it to boom, 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 boom. Mike, that's very Midnight Marauders-ish is what I was thinking when I heard One Love. It sounds like a beat that got made during Midnight Marauders, and that's why I was like, well, hold on, who's really producing what? Because if Q-Tip did this beat, well, that sounds like Midnight Marauders.
It feels like only inside people knew at that time, and people who really, really listen like that, and it's a shame because that's some of the best produced stuff of its era. Award Tour is one of the best produced songs of the 90s, period. I think Electric Relaxation is one of the best produced hip-hop songs of the 90s, period.
Mike, Award Tour is a borderline top 10 hip-hop song all time to me. Award Tour is that great from beginning to end. That's a special verse. That's a special beat. That's a special hook. That's a special moment.
Mm-hmm. And then he comes in there with that verse. The first, like, come on, man.
Because you want to know what's special about that song? Is the fact that what's special about the song is the fact that the song is special. There's nothing special going on except for the record. The beat is special. Q-Tip special. The hook special. The vibe special, because it's one of those records you can bob your head to it in your car, but you can dance to it in the club. But you feel the words of the song as well, too. It's motivational. It's doing a few different things. It's one of the best rap songs ever.
The man made lyrics to go. And he made Butter for Fife. Like, Butter's beautiful. Like, I listened to the Low End Theory and all. Like, that shit does not sound like it came out in 1991. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it does not sound 31 years old.
Ahead of the curve.
Very much so.
Mike, where do you have the Low End Theory all time? Hip hop album. Where do you think of it? Is it a top 10 album to you?
For me personally. Now, if somebody doesn't have it there, I'm fine with that. But yeah, for me personally, but I'm a Tribe fan.
Right. Objectively, where do you have it though? The low end
It's
theory. Where
got
do
to
you
be
have
at
it?
least top 15 impact, and you know what I'm saying, just that whole fusion of hip hop and jazz, what it created, and it created some level of a subgenre where other artists were able to jump in that lane, from the Roots to Common and Mos Def, Talib. They were able to take that lane and go on. Like when everybody was getting compared to Tribe, it was because of the Low End Theory's blueprint.
So, Mike, I would agree with you. I think that objectively speaking, top 15 rap album, and I'm going to piggyback more off what you said because everything that you're saying is accurate. The space that the Roots, Common, Mos, Talib, the space that they exist in, that space exists because of low end theory. Mike, I'm going to take it a step further, Mike. The space that D'Angelo,
D'Angelo, yeah.
Maxwell,
The whole Soul Aquarium
Erica
movement.
Badu exist in is based on the low end theory too.
Outkast.
And that's why it is probably the most important and influential hip hop album ever that doesn't get discussed.
It
It's
doesn't.
the
And
most
again,
influential
I
album ever that
think
doesn't get
that
discussed.
I think people like Q-Tip and Pharrell and Chad as well are such humble people that a lot of their greatness doesn't get acknowledged. And I got to give Mr. West, Mr. Kanye West, credit for not allowing that shit to happen to him. He said from day one, I'm gonna let you guys know how great I
Q-Tip or the Neptunes, Mike?
am. I think the Neptunes just on a versatility level. I don't know. That's hard for me. I'm big
I don't
fans of
agree. Give
both.
me
And this
Q-Tip.
is what I'm about to say. This is
Give
what I'm
me
about to
Q-Tip.
say. When
You
it
can just
comes
give me
to if
Q-Tip.
it comes to making an album, I think Q-Tip's gonna be could make albums better than them. He's proven to do that. But the only thing with Q-Tip is the fact that you're not sure if this thing's ever gonna come out. We're still waiting on the last Zulu for almost 10 years. It feels like, but the Neptunes, they have proven that they can crank out music for a lot of people at a large amount at different times. But see, the thing is, we're talking about two people versus one.
Mike,
That's the unfair part.
no, Mike, I'm going to give you a better question. You're an artist still. You're on your fifth album. Who are you calling?
Um, Probably
Right.
calling the Neptunes. I need it to come out. That's my only thing. And I love Q-Tip and Dre. Same thing. Like, you could work with those guys and the songs will never see the light of day. I mean, we see these pictures of Dr. Dre in the studio all the time and hearing no music. We just recently started hearing some music.
You be working.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is, but we're never going to hear it because they're such perfectionists that it's not going to come out the studio until they think it's perfect. I've heard Q-Tip say he hears Tribe's song. He don't listen to his own music, by the way.
Good.
But he goes out, and if he hears a Tribe song, he's sitting here thinking about how he could have made it better. Chris Lighty and them had to yank the albums out of his hand and tell him, like, look, it's done. We're taking this to get mastered.
Sounds
So,
about right. That's the guy I'm taking. Right.
yeah. And
Sounds
we're
about
never
right.
going to hear your
Like,
album.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Give me that guy. That's what I'm saying. Like, give
No.
me that guy. You're telling me, give me the guy. You're like, I want my shit out. It's like, no, no, no. I want the best guy. Give me that guy. Give me the guy that you have to pry it out of his hands. Like he's like, no. You like, yeah, nigga. It's time. Like, yeah, I want that guy. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the dude.